Hello! Today I'm going to be talking about how I proposed to my girlfriend, now fiancée. She said yes. I'll forego the thumbnail clickbait for you and show you exactly what I used, where I got them from, and then talk about why and how I used them in more detail. So the exact items I used were these printed cards, so my own custom version of 36 questions to fall in love, and I also used Moo, Google Photos and Canva to help with that. I got these fairy lights from Big W, so pretty easy. Got some little lights. And third is little rose petals, so I just picked up some little fabric rose petals from Spotlight, so pretty easy. And finally, the ring, which I got from Laurie Fleming Jewelry. So pretty straightforward. I wanted to make this video because I'm very proud of my idea and I'm really excited and happy about how it turned out. So I just wanted to share it with everyone and keep this video as a kind of memory, like time capsule, as well as help inspire anyone who is stuck for ideas, or even if you're just curious to hear my story. So the main thing that I used in the proposal was this stack of cards, and is my own version of something called 36 Questions to Fall in Love. So this concept was designed by some psychologists in the 90s to see if two strangers could develop an intimate connection by asking each other a bunch of personal questions. So I saw this online around the time that I started dating my partner. I thought it was something that I'd like to try with her, and I guess it worked because we did this about 4 months into the relationship, and it was the first time that I told her I loved her, and a bit over 3 years later I asked her to marry me and she said yes. So, you know, it seems a bit effective, potentially. Your mileage may vary. Another reason I chose to use this was because one of her main love languages is actually quality time. Now, unfortunately, quality time is a bit lower on the scale for me, but it's something that I always want to make more of a concerted effort for. She loves spending lots of active time together, and sometimes when we're just at home and don't have any ideas of what to do, because we enjoy doing the 36 questions so much initially, sometimes she'll just Google questions for us to ask each other, or silly would you rathers to talk about. I mean, I feel like it's sometimes hard for me to talk a lot. I guess that's how my personality is. So having a more directed approach kind of helps, which is why I chose to do this. So the first thing I knew was that I wanted physical versions of the 36 questions so we could do them together. When we did it the first time, it was just reading off of a phone, and we play a lot of board games and card games together. So I thought I wanted some nice like physical cards for each of the 36 questions. So I started off by designing the cards. So I used Canva because it's a super easy, user-friendly way to put together and design things, especially for someone with limited design knowledge and skills. I definitely recommend using this. I actually even use it for things like my resume, making YouTube thumbnails, stuff like that. So I'm going to jump over to the website now and I'll just scroll through it and show you what I did. So I knew I wanted a front and back of the card. So the back would describe what it was and the instructions, as well as the front having the actual question. So on the back, I ended up going with something super simple. So the name of what the cards were, the instructions, and a nice little message and the date. I also wanted a logo, so I actually commissioned my partner to make a little couple logo for us. She's much better at drawing and designing than me, so I asked her like months before the proposal to make a little couple logo for us, and I was like, I'm not going to tell you what it's for though, but I'd like you to do it. So it was actually so cute, and I love it so much, and I just want to put it on everything. I really like it. Now, as for the front, I calculated that with the 36 questions, it was about 1 month of our relationship per card. So I made it so that each card had photos from each month of our relationship. We have a joint Google photo album, so it was very easy for me to get photos from every month. But it actually ended up being so hard to only fit like 3 or 4 photos on the card to represent each month. So I ended up putting little extra cards in between as well to represent certain milestones or memories. It was so cute, and I was so happy just going through memory lane, essentially mapping out our entire relationship onto these cards and remembering all the good times that we've been through. There were actually a few extra months past the 36 questions, so like more than 36, so I had to make a few new questions up to question 40 to represent the final month before the proposal. And I chose questions that weren't too similar to the existing ones and ones that could potentially change over time, so that when we did do this further along the line, the answers might change, because some of the questions questions in this are like very set, like what's your favorite thing that happened as a child or something. I mean, I guess that could change, you know, but unlikely. And finally, we get to the last card. So my favorite card, where the final question would be, which is where I ask her to marry me. I love this card so much and it makes me so happy. I almost cried so many times just putting this together, and I definitely teared up a little bit as I was writing this one, because every time I write it I kind of imagine like how it would pan out. But let me show you. So it's the last one. My favorite card. So I'll put it up on screen, but I'll read it to you. So it goes, 3 years have passed since we were here. Said I love you through happy tears. And what a journey it has been. And oh, the wonders we have seen. We've travelled past the ocean sea. We've eaten all the food we see. I know inside there is no doubt. With you, I could not do without. For all the times with you I'll be. Jenny, will you marry me? Makes me very happy. But yeah, these are the cards. So once I had all the card designs together, it was actually surprisingly hard to find an online printer for my needs, because I wanted something akin to kind of like those nice thick, smooth board game like style cards, like kind of like, I don't know, like Cards Against Humanity or something like that. And a lot of printers would also only print a bunch of one design at a time. So you would submit like one design and they'd print off like 100 of them for you or something. Whereas I essentially wanted like 50 unique cards. I ended up settling up with Moo, which I was quite happy with. So they're a website that print and ship globally, and they allow you to print cards with unique designs. So one for each card that you can just upload to their website. I ended up choosing these premium, smooth, soft touch, thick postcards, and they were so nice, you know. So next up is location. So the location I chose was a very specific Airbnb in Phillip Island. It's nothing super fancy, but the reason I chose this Airbnb will also kind of give you context as to why I chose some of the things I did for this proposal. So the Airbnb was the first little road trip that we went on in our relationship, and was the first time that we were staying overnight somewhere that was not in our own respective homes. And this was about 4 months into the relationship. We made a lot of great memories there. We cooked lots of fun food together. We made spinach and ricotta rolls, and there's a funny story actually. In the recipe, there's a part where you need to defrost the frozen spinach blobs. They come in like little pucks, and she was like, oh, let me do this for you, Russell. I don't want your cold, delicate hands to suffer. And she just like manually squeezed and defrosted all the spinach for us while screaming about how cold her hands were, like, look at my suffering hands. Anyway, there was this very specific couch there, and we actually moved the configuration so that it formed like a little couch semicircle nook. And we hung out a bench there and watched movies and stuff. And it was actually where I first told her I loved her. Ooh. And she told me that she loved me too. 100% one of my favorite memories. And she actually tells me all the time to recount the story of when I first told her I loved her, because I was so emotional about it and cried a little while saying it. And she loves hearing about it and teasing me about it. I actually even asked her to move out with me the next day as well. So Phillip Island was where our relationship really started kind of getting to the next level, you know. Now, because of all this, I knew I wanted to do the proposal at the same Airbnb, kind of on the exact same couch as well, in the exact same configuration that started it all. So it would also be in a secluded and non-public area, which is definitely kind of both of our preferences. Luckily for us, the Airbnb was not booked out on the dates that we wanted, and the couches had not changed at all, so it all worked perfectly. We also chose a date that would be easy to remember. So it was the 30th of June, which is also the end of financial year in Australia. So we now joke that end of financial year came around, so she was getting a promotion, you know. Luckily for me, the ring choice was quite easy. My partner has very specific taste and had already expressed interest in a particular design as well as some ring pairings that she liked. So the store was Laurie Fleming Jewelry, and they're kind of this cute independent jeweler in Canada, I believe. And I contacted them to have this very specific ring made, which was a custom version of one of their rings and then set with an old mine cut diamond, as well as picking a ring that paired with it. So their store was super helpful and gave me heaps heaps of information about it all. There are so many different grades and characteristics that I'd never heard about the stones, and all these like little close-up videos, and I was like, oh man, I don't know how to choose anything. So I actually ended up asking her to help choose the stone as well. There were just too many options, and I didn't know enough about stones and what her stone preference might be. So I kind of extracted the relevant information from my communication with the store, and we kind of talked about what stone she liked and what she envisioned, stuff like that. So finally, I'll go through a few accessories that I used. I went with quite a simple setup, but you know, depending on what you like, you can spice things up or personalize this exactly how you like. I wanted the couches to look nice, but still familiar, and not anything too obstructive because we would just be sitting on them. So I just got fairy lights and fabric rose petals. Fairy lights always make things look nicer, so I just got these from BW and draped them around the couch. But there were so many kind of different ones, you know, there's tiny fairy lights, festoon lights, stuff like that, hanging from the ceiling. I just put on the couch, but you know, that's cool. In terms of rose petals, there's a whole bunch of different options. You can get fresh rose petals, freeze-dried rose petals, or fabric ones, I believe are generally the different types. Each kind of have their own pros and cons, but I just wanted little fabric ones because they could be kept for future use and definitely wouldn't stain as well, which is potentially an issue with some of the other ones, especially since this wasn't our place, you know. Now putting it all together. So by the time we were at Phillip Island, she knew it was coming. We're very open about talking about our relationship, so she knew that a proposal was coming, just not exactly how it would happen. I mean, at this point, she had already chosen an engagement ring, and we had gone to a ring making class together where we made each other little fake wedding bands, essentially. So, I mean, it's also hard to hide things from her because we live together, and I always get so excited, you know. I don't want to just hold it in and not tell her, you know, especially when I was designing the cards. Like, it took a lot of time, and she already knew I was making something, just not what exactly. So on the night of the proposal, we cooked some tasty food together again. We made some chicken pot pie, which was so good, as well as some spinach and ricotta rolls again. This time we defrosted them more properly so it wasn't as hard to squeeze the liquid out of them. And then after dinner, I essentially was like, get out of here. So kicked her out of the living room, and she just hung out and got changed in the bedroom. And then I prepared the couch. I put fairy lights on it, spread the rose petals everywhere. And then I invited her in. We sat on the couch and I showed her the cards, and she loved it. We spent an hour or so going through the questions again, reminiscing about the journey that we've been through and all the happy memories that we've had, and you know, laughing at all the photos and the cards. It was a very lovely time. When we finally got to the last card, I read it out and asked her to marry me, and she said yes. Woo! I really enjoyed putting this all together for her and leading up to the proposal. I had a lot of fun making this video as well. I love how the whole proposal turned out, and it was definitely, you know, it was a little bit stressful leading up to it, you know, just trying to hide the details from her and wanting to make sure it all went perfectly. But no, it was good. Hopefully you enjoyed my story and maybe even got a few ideas out of it yourself if you're interested in doing one of these, you know, a little proposal. But yeah, let me know what you think and subscribe or like the video if you like, you know. Thanks.